I love Mondays with Mike Heller.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed bunker in the Badger State, this is I Love Mondays with Mike Heller. Powered by determination and a little bit of duct tape. Here's your host, Mike Heller.
So here we go. We continue to evolve as we work through this first week of the I Love Mondays podcast. And I know it's Wednesday, but I'm trying to drive home the point that I Love Mondays is an everyday 1 hour long podcast. And today is day 3. So there are a bunch of things that are going on today. And in the NFL, the NFL never sleeps. So it is part of the conversation. But I do want to begin by saying the Mike Heller podcast, this podcast, I Love Mondays, has 2 presenting sponsors, the Neuroscience Group, based out of the Fox River Valley, Northeast Wisconsin, and by M3 Insurance. I'll get into details, but I do always want to say thank you because they are who make this possible. Also by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino and Hotel in Milwaukee, and by Habish and Rotier. So I posted this Twitter poll question earlier today, and one of the reasons I love Twitter polls is that it gets us thinking about some bigger picture items as it relates to what we talk about, what we think about on a daily basis. So here was the question that I posted earlier today on X. In the last decade, and I'll give you some numbers that will back up and maybe give you a little bit of support on thinking about this question. Which team has been the worst, most disappointing at missing their opportunities? The Green Bay Packers, the Milwaukee Brewers, or the Milwaukee Bucks? So let me run this out a little bit for you. When we talk about the Green Bay Packers, they have been in 3 NFC Championship games in the last decade and not been to a Super Bowl. And they did that both with Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, they were his NFC Championship games. And then Jordan Love, who's been deeper in the playoffs, but not to that round of the playoffs. It started with Mike McCarthy in that coaching tree. And if you think of going back to 2016 through 2025 in the seasons, the Packers played in the NFC Championship when they went 10-6 in 2016. They lost to Atlanta 44-21. The next year, they don't make the playoffs. And Mike McCarthy got fired with a few games left in the season. Following year, first year for Matt LaFleur, 13-3, and they play in the NFC Championship game. They were outmanned against San Francisco. By the time they got there, they lost 37-20. Following year, 13-3, again, NFC Championship game against Tampa in Green Bay, and lose. 2021, 13-4, lost the divisional round game against San Francisco 13-10. Remember the punt fiasco, special teams cost them at home, really cold game. 2022, 8-9, don't make the playoffs. 2023, 9-8, lost in the divisional round at San Francisco. That was Jordan Love, the coming out party on the win in Dallas, and then losing 24-21 in Santa Clara. 2024, 11-6, lost that wild card game in part on the 2 opening drives of the game. They fumbled a kick return by Keyshawn Nixon. And then I believe on their first offensive series, Elton Jenkins got drilled and left the game, and the offensive line was never the same. They got beat against Philadelphia 22-10. Philadelphia goes on and wins the Super Bowl. This last year, we know what happened, 9-7-1, losing to Chicago in the wild card round. I think they're the odds-on favorite to be the team, when you think of this, that is disappointed the most. But let's not leave out others in this discussion. They're going to win. The Packers are going to win this poll question because they win most. They're getting 81% of the vote, essentially. But how about the Bucks? How about the Bucks with arguably for about 4, maybe 5 of the years in the decade, the last 10 years of play, having the best player on the planet? And they did win a title. I get it. But it's the only time they played in the NBA Finals. They had a great roster Injuries didn't help them at certain times. But I wouldn't sleep on the Bucs. As when we look back on it, the one difference is that the Bucs won a title, the Packers did not. Packers didn't play in a Super Bowl. Bucs played in the NBA Finals, but just the one time. And when Giannis leaves, and I think he will leave, but when he leaves, will you look back on it the same way that Packers fans do with Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre and say, how in the world did they win 2 Super Bowls in a 30-year run of having Favre, Rodgers, and then so far Love? You're going to look back, I think, on the Giannis Antetokounmpo run in Milwaukee, and the early run doesn't count because he was growing up. But once he got grown up, that this team, that team only got to one NBA final, and they won it. I get it. But don't sleep on the Bucs in that conversation. And then finally, because, some people look at it and say, well, you always give the Brewers a pass. Well, here I'm going to give you a little sense of what the Brewers did in that same run. Early part of this run, 2016, they're 73 and 89. In 2017, they're 86 and 76. Neither year, obviously, certainly in 16, but in 17, 86 wins was not enough to get them into the postseason. In 2018, 95 and 67. And you lost in the National League Championship Series in a Game 7 at home. That's the one that reaches up and bites you. You didn't have any pitching left, but you had a Game 7 in the NLCS to go to the World Series on your home field and lost to the Dodgers. 2019, 89 wins, lost in the wild card game, single game then at Washington, Trent Grisham, Josh Hader. Yeah. Stuff you want to forget about, can't. 2020, that's the COVID year. They only played a 60-game schedule, lost in the wild card to the Dodgers 2-0. They were under 500 at 29 and 31 in the regular season. So kick it out a little bit. 2021, 95 wins, lose in the National League Division Series against Atlanta in a series that you didn't score anything. A familiar refrain runs through this. 2022, 86 and 76, no playoffs, not eliminated until the final weekend of the season. 2023, 92 and 70, lost in the wild card round against Arizona again in a series 2-game set. Played them at home, don't score any runs. 2023, that's what I was just referring to. 2024, 93 wins, and you lose in that best of 3 all at home wild card series to the Mets on the Pete Alonso home run, right? 9th inning deal. You have Devin Williams out there. Everything's set up. Mike left the press box to go stand in above section 111 because that's where they bring the media down onto the field to be there for the celebration. And so I'll wear that one. I should have stayed in the press box. 2025, 97 wins. That's this last year. Lose to the Dodgers in the National League Championship Series. So the Brewers in the same run of time, 7 out of the 10 years in the playoffs. For the Packers, that run of being in the playoffs, 7 out of 10 years. For the Bucs, 9 out of 10 years. The Brewers, 7 out of the 10 years in the playoffs, 2 National League Championship Series, and no spots in the World Series. They averaged 90 wins in the run. Which franchise is most disappointing? I probably should have just taken the Packers out of play and made it the 2 Milwaukee teams. But in that stead, if you just took the 2 Milwaukee teams on the voting in the poll question, the Brewers at 11.5%, 12%, and the Bucs at 8%. And I get it. Bucs won a title. Bucs probably should have beaten Toronto the year that they lost in the Eastern Conference Finals. They're up 2-0 at home and go to Toronto and don't win another game. Got beat in 6 with a team that a lot of people thought that was the team that was going to win an NBA championship, and then they didn't. And then what happened the following year when I believe it was the following year when the Bucs were playing in the bubble, and it kind of went sideways when they lost to Miami in the conference semifinal, and that was messy in many regards, but in the lead regard, it was the team. The team was making some social commentary, working on that front to let the world know that they didn't agree with things going on, and the bubble was a little goofy, and the Bucs didn't manage being in the bubble very well. They got beat in Orlando against Miami in a series that didn't last all that long. So, those are the elements that were kind of put into play that I wanted to touch on in the poll question. Now, let me help set up a little bit about what we're doing today. We're going to talk with Bill Schmid. I look forward to this because I haven't talked to Billy on the radio since September 2nd. So, Billy did the show that would lead into my show when we were statewide across all the fronts. And September 2nd was my final day, and I didn't know it, so I didn't get to say goodbye. And so that crossover with Billy, which was one of my favorite 10, 12, 15 minutes of the day. Billy's going to join us in just a couple of minutes. That is the plan. And then we'll spend a little extra time with him. Tomorrow on the show, Vinny Rottino will join us from Brewers spring training. They'll have a game tomorrow, I believe, in Tempe. But Vinny will join us on the program tomorrow. He'll join us every Thursday. His time here will be brought to you by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. So let me, how are we doing? Can we jump in and welcome Billy to the program? Is he logged in on StreamYard yet?
We don't have Bill yet. Just waiting patiently for him to hop in here.
So let me, live on the air, let me just text him and make sure that he got
We did have to send him that second invite.
the new link. Yeah. Oh, did you?
I did.
Okay. All right. So let me do this. So I'm going to read you what I'm writing. New link. Did you receive? That's what I'm sending. Receive.
Compelling.
It is. It's good radio. Good podcasting.
Camera one died again.
Yeah, I saw that. So, listen, these are the things that we have to work out as we go through the process. That beautiful Canon camera.
Don't give them a free plug.
Well, after they screwed it up, I'm telling them that's not a plug. That's what's going on there.
Right, exactly.
That beautiful Canon camera. We've got two of them, and now twice this week, this main camera that I'm looking at.
Which is plugged in.
Yeah. And it was plugged in, right?
Yes, sir.
Just decided to skip it.
We have Bill.
Yeah, Billy said he's got it, and he's looking at it and ready to go.
I got him. Here's Bill.
We've never done this before, so let's give it a shot. We bring in Bill Schmid, host of the morning show, which is super early on 920 in Milwaukee and 1070 in Madison, and also on the iHeartRadio app. Bill Schmid, what is going on, and how are you?
How you doing, brother? Appreciate it. I'm excited. Listen, I've been a guinea pig before, and I'm ready to be one as well. It's worked out well. We're in, we're live, and we're rolling. And as long as you hear me, that's the modern work of technology.
I am not hearing you in headphones, and I don't know if that matters, Ben Bano.
No, he should be going out.
Okay, so
it's our first try at this.
Should I continue on as everybody can hear it, even if they can't?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, Billy, I can hear you sort of in the background, but Ben will get this kind of figured out. So you know how much I love poll questions, right? From our history of
Always
doing these things together. So of the three in-state franchises, which one in the last decade, even though all three of them, Bucs, Brewers, and Packers, have had, by many measures, a pretty extraordinary decade, but only the Bucs have won a title. The Packers haven't played for one, and the Brewers haven't played for one. So which of the three, when it's all said and done, should we be most disappointed in?
Well, I think the easy ones are the two that are sitting right over my shoulder, because you can see Giannis holding the trophy and the Finals MVP one there, as well as Aaron Rodgers when he wins it with the Packers. But I guess I've struggled with it a couple of things, and it not being the Brewers. The Brewers are my answer. So those two would be the easier ones. And while the Brewers might be a more difficult one to think of, Mike, I sit here knowing and seeing the amount of success that they've been able to have in the regular season, and the bites at the apple that a lot of people get frustrated with the saying. Well, the slogan you would have thought would have been able to come somewhat to fruition by this particular point in time. Multiple trips to the postseason where they've been there now 6 of the last 7 years. The way the postseason is built in baseball allows and is built to see a team that might not always be the most talented ultimately win it. They've had just as many opportunities and a lot of home ones more than any. The Packers are the easy one with the Rodgers teams that were close, but not necessarily close enough. They had the best teams. They ran into the worst fortune, I think, in terms of injuries, especially when you look at the Bakhtiari injury that I still believe took them out of real contention in 2020. And the Bucs one is a stroke of incredible misfortune due to injuries. And while the national insiders and experts that will talk about Giannis playing on just about every team other than the one he's played on his entire National Basketball Association career, I think the funniest part of it, Mike, is like a lot of times they tend to gloss over and not realize or think of the fact that his lack of availability has probably been the biggest hindrance to the Bucs being able to get home ever since they ended up winning it in 2021.
If you had to isolate, I feel, Ben, I'm really loud. There we go. If we had to isolate Billy on the single one, like to me, of all of those, 2018 Brewers Game 7 National League Championship Series at home, and I get it, they were just flat dead out of pitching. They just didn't have an answer there. But it's the Packers NFC Championship game home loss, LaFleur's second season against Tom Brady. That's the one. I mean, to me, if you single out one game, or in the other two sports, a series, that one for the Packers is hard to stomach. And the Bucs loss against Toronto when they led 2-0 and didn't win another, that one's hard to stomach. And Brewers 18 against the Dodgers. But to me, Packers and Tampa is the one out of all of those where I'm like, oh my God, how did we not win? Tom Brady wanted to give you the game. He threw three picks?
3 picks, 2 to Jair, I believe, in the second half. Yeah,
how did you not get home?
You don't get home because you fumbled the ball 3 times, I think, as well. And again, I mean, I've sadly litigated that game for all of it that I remember as I was sitting in section 130 with a friend of mine, Tyler, who was on the ground crew at the time. So the only way that you could get in was like the friends and family deal. And somehow we were able to register in as family. And I ended up sitting there and just deleting beers in the easiest self-service way that Lambeau Field has ever provided, Mike. You could run, get 2 more, not miss a play. It was way too easy. Probably should be illegal because of how simplistic it was. But that game seemingly got so out of hand after the Jones fumble at the end of, or at the start of the second half, that it's difficult for me to think. And the Packers one, maybe I'm just clouded and it's not at the top because of the Rodgers to Love transition in that decade. And the 10 years would exclude 2014 and 2011, which I still think are their 2 greatest misses in the Rodgers era to not ultimately get home. 2019 for the Bucs is a great opportunity. 2020 completely gets forgotten about in the bubble. They were by far the most dominant team in the playoffs or in the regular season. But again, it kind of was the start to what I think we've seen over the last couple of years, where Giannis was much more injured, I think, than people kind of remember right before the shutdown, right before the pandemic. He gets dinged, I think, in their second to last game before they ultimately get shut down and reboot in Orlando, and they were never the same. He was never the same. But it kind of started the run of, if he's going to be healthy, you have a legitimate chance. If not, you could get swept by the 8th seed Heat, or beaten 5 by the 8th seed Heat.
Do we give them a pass on that run and that time in Orlando? Remember, they were the leading. They were sending a message. It was a political, social message, because they essentially shut down the bubble and decided not to play. And I also wonder how much that, I don't know if it distracted, but it certainly took away from what they were trying to do. And I don't know if they were all united on that front. They put up a united front, right, in not playing, but you don't know what is behind the scenes. Was everybody on the same page with that? Because they just didn't look the same when they were there.
And I would be mistaken by trying to reference the young man's name, and I'm going to forget about it in Kenosha. That transpired, that kickstarted that. I want to say that was in the Orlando series, and I think they end up winning that series. So I'm not as in that lineup. But to me, Mike, that one more goes down to Giannis. Like, God bless George Hill and his family, and I mean no disrespect by this at all. But if he's driving the bus of the 2020 Milwaukee Bucks, they got bigger problems, right? Like, if anybody not being able to be ready. I think he was so far out of his element being away from his family and not being at home that they frankly didn't have much of a chance in and of itself. And again, I can really fire up this first week of I Love Mondays. I love LeBron James, and that's a title that he'll never get credit for. It might be one of the most impressive ones that ultimately they ended up winning with Anthony Davis, guy who got actually nicknamed Street Clothes.
So at least for a moment,
and completely away from everybody
I think we
else.
still have Billy on camera, but I don't think we have any audio.
No.
So
smart. That was well timed,
right
for the LeBron James and George.
What we do,
makes sense.
Yeah. So we're just testing things out and trying to figure them out when they go wrong. Like
he just I don't know where he went.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, if we can reconnect to Billy, we'll reconnect. But
it makes sense.
For now,
you start talking about LeBron James,
it's just right back to us, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let me touch on a couple of other things. While we're doing this, why don't we, Ben will touch on sponsors here just for a moment, because I do want to thank our title sponsors, our presenting sponsors for this show. And part of that is M3 Insurance. With M3, you get it all, the personal guidance you need to protect and grow your business, and a team that provides tailored insurance and risk management solutions and unparalleled service. Don't settle for anything less from your insurance broker. Visit m3ins.com. That's m3ins.com. And I Love Mondays is also presented by the Neuroscience Group. From diagnosis to recovery, Neuroscience Group brings together neurology, neurosurgery, pain management, and therapy all under one roof. Advanced care close to home. Neuroscience Group, Northeast Wisconsin's leader in neurological care. Can also tell you that, and Billy's very familiar, that part of our sponsorship is and presented by Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. This is for all you sports bettors. Head to Potawatomi Sportsbook in Milwaukee for unmatched sports betting experience. It's got everything you need all day, every day to bet above the rest. And also presented by Habish, and Rotier. 13 locations ensure you get a hometown attorney who understands your life and the impacts of your injury and is personally committed to recovery for you. So those are our sponsors. We'll see if we get this figured out. By the way, when we talk about the Bucks, 26-34 right now, and on the home court tonight against the Atlanta Hawks. Charlotte won again last night. They've been on a run, so they've won 5 straight, I believe. The Bucks are 4 games back of both Atlanta and Charlotte. They don't play Charlotte anymore. They play Atlanta twice. Tonight's an 8:30 tip, late night at Fiserv tonight. And the Bucks trying to turn the tables. They've lost 3 straight, all by 20 plus. The Atlanta Hawks have won 4 straight. Charlotte's, I believe, won 5 in a row. So the Bucks need to find some answers. We'll see. They had a night off. See if Giannis, how much he's going to go tonight. We'll see that again. It's an 8:30 tip time at Fiserv Forum. The Brewers are hosting the Cubs today at American Family Fields of Phoenix. Only time they're at home against the Cubs in spring training. Scheduled to pitch Brandon Sproat, Shane Drohan, Logan Henderson, Craig Yoho. Yelich also expected to get his first Cactus League play today. So those things going on. And the poll question again. Packers have been in the playoffs 7 of the last 10 years. They've won 99 games in that 10-year run. 3 NFC Championship games, no Super Bowls. Brewers have been in the playoffs 7 of 10 also, same as the Packers. 90-72 has been their average regular season record in their full seasons. They played in 2 National League Championship Series, no World Series. They lost both times to the Dodgers in the NLCS, one in Game 7 at home, and then last year obviously got swept in 4 games. The Bucks have been in the playoffs 9 of 10 years. Giannis has been there that entire time. They've averaged 48 wins per season on the full seasons, 2 Eastern Conference Finals, 1 NBA Finals, 1 title. So with their talent, which one has been most disappointing in that run? And they've all had levels of success. You're talking about the Brewers being in the postseason 7 out of the 10 years. The only time in franchise history that ever come anywhere close to that number. And I get it. The playoffs have expanded from the 1980s Brewers that would have been in more, certainly. But the poll question is up on which one would you have felt, hey, they should have done more. Like, I default to the Packers on that, in part because of Aaron Rodgers. But the Brewers had a Game 7 at home. And the Bucks, probably in a 3-year run, were the best team in the NBA and only played in 1 NBA Finals, and they won that one. But to me, that's part of the conversation. Packers free agency is out there, by the way, because the NFL's starting to make those moves. So keep in mind of these unrestricted free agents for the Green Bay Packers rolling forward: Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Romeo Doubs, Malik Willis, Quay Walker, Kingsley Enagbare. Those are the unrestricted free agents. Of those, you certainly know Malik Willis is leaving. You're thinking that Rasheed Walker is going to leave. You're thinking that Romeo Doubs is going to leave. I'd love to see them keep Quay Walker, but there are elements that are going to be going on there. The Patriots are going to release, just seeing this come down, they're going to release wide receiver Stephon Diggs. This information is all going to be coming out between now and Monday. And then on Monday, you're going to see announcements of signings, but they just won't be official until Wednesday of next week. So we run through that.
Bill thinks that he's back.
Okay.
Let's
give it a shot. Let's try and bring in Bill Schmid again. Hi, Bill.
What's going on, fellas?
Nope.
Is it working any better?
No audio. It's probably my fault.
I couldn't say that, Mike.
I would. I mean,
I wouldn't say.
You want to split it?
We'll split it.
No one wants to put it on you, Mike. I wouldn't put it on you at all. No. Don't
when we see him.
Issue.
I'm sure our audience can hear him.
Oh, you think the audience can hear him?
I do. I think we can't hear him.
Well, that's kind of goofy. Like, I could ask Billy questions, and then when I see you stop talking, I won't have heard anything you said. But of that free agent group, what's your reaction to Rasheed Walker, Sean Ryan, Romeo Doubs, Malik Willis, Quay Walker, and Kingsley Enagbare? Of that group, anybody coming back?
So I would think there's a couple of guys that end up coming back. I would think Enagbare is a fascinating one. I think they would love to be able to get him back on somewhat of a deal. He's an interesting market value, though, from somebody that clearly has played probably better than all the opportunities that he's given, right? He's going to play a significantly less snap share because he's behind Rashawn Gary, obviously behind Micah Parsons, and Lucas Van Ness is a first-round pick, so he's going to get more opportunities there. And listen, they got young guys like Sorrell and Cox who would be in that piece as well. I would be more surprised if Walker is back when they weren't able to get the deal done with him before the year last year. I think it opened up for exactly what you saw. He probably played, Mike, the best he's played as a pro, the most consistent as he has as a pro in a contract year. That's not a Packers business model to then bring that guy necessarily back and maybe pay more than what you would have before. The Dobbs one is the one that I'd be very, very intrigued and less than enthused to part with. Now, wide receivers are going to make more money this class because there's a scarcity. Alec Pierce is the best wide receiver on the market. My man might make close to $30 million a year. Is he a $30 million wide receiver on par with Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and company? Absolutely not. But it's supply and demand, and he's going to be the number one wide receiver on the market at a position that is one of the 3 to 4 most valuable in the sport, so you're going to get paid. I think Dobbs, the expectation was he was going to get probably $12, $13, $14 million a year offer. I don't know that market is going to be out there for him like maybe he anticipated, so I think you could be in a conversation there, but Christian Watson's play a year ago, when they were drafted on the same night or in the same weekend in the second and fourth round, You thought one would be extended, the other one would walk. They gave Watson the de facto 50-year option last year, and I would assume they plan on extending him on the first day or whenever they're eligible to. But Dobbs is the one that I would not be quick to part with. But I think he might end up going just because he'll probably have outpriced himself from the Green Bay market.
Yeah, and that's always the deal with the athlete. I can't blame the Packers. They've got a cap restriction that they have to work through, and I don't blame Dobbs. He's got a chance. Many times you don't get a third contract in the NFL. His second contract typically is the one that you make the most amount of money. There are rare commodities that make the biggest money on their third, but that doesn't happen very often. So if you're Dobbs and you're Dobbs' agent, you got to go out and all you got to do is find one, right? The highest number, and go get it, because it might be the last number you get.
Yeah, and he's been a consistent enough security blanket, Mike, where if I'm the Tennessee Titans, I'd be very interested in him, right? Like if I'm going with a young quarterback trying to find somebody. You mentioned the New England Patriots cutting Diggs. You could see that one from a mile away, and not only a courtroom or two appearance in between there. But you knew that one was coming. He would be a great pairing for Drake May. Big body, physical guy that can go and get it. And he's quarterback friendly because he makes 50-50 balls much more 55-45 balls. So I'm a Romeo fan. I think he's going to be successful in the next spot. I don't think it'll be in Green Bay. But I guess I would be surprised. The Rasheed Walker one, I mean, it feels like he's as good as gone just because of the Jordan Morgan draft pick. But I feel like the Packers are one of those teams that just when you think you have a full beat on exactly what they're doing, they'll completely surprise you. Walker's value, though, that's left tackle money. You can only pay the premier positions. You can only pay so many guys at that spot. They've locked up a quarterback in the $50 million range, a pass rusher more than any defensive player has ever made. You're going to need somebody on a rookie contract to play one of those spots. And Jordan Morgan, come on down. It's going to be your time here in 2026 to be able to put up or shut up.
And then that offensive line is really, it's got to essentially be remade, right? Especially if Schmid leaves, then obviously Jordan Morgan is going to be your starting left tackle. You got a decision to make on Sean Ryan. Zach Tom's going to be one of your guys. There are decisions and a rebuilt component to that group that we don't see it all the time. You do, because it's what you watch. One of the things that you pay close attention to and kind of understand what you're seeing. A lot of us don't understand what we're seeing on offensive line play, but that was probably one of the bigger failures of the team a year ago. Was run blocking wasn't there enough for Josh Jacobs, and the offensive line didn't play at a level that allows you to be a deep threat in the playoffs.
Well, and Mike, I guess I don't think it's hyperbolic to say it's the worst offensive line play that they've had consistently in probably a decade plus. Closing in on like 2 decades. Because they've been a top 10 or better performing unit there. Pretty much all of Aaron Rodgers' time. Pretty much all of the time that you saw a David Bakhtiari, a Josh Sitton, a Scott Wells suiting up, Chad Clifton in that group. They've always had 2 rather bookend tackles and one player in the middle who's Pro Bowl caliber. That's tough to beat. And the difficult nature of it, Mike, is the play across the league has gone down. And it's not surprising. You don't get to practice it as much. It's the position that demands the most in-sync play out of anything in sports, other than synchronized swimming, which we're going to watch here in a couple of years during the Summer Olympics. Like it's the only one where you desperately need everybody to know everything of what every other player is doing in the group to be that coordinated of a unit, and they didn't have enough consistency there. They were unable to find a match, and I do think it's going to be a little easier to rebuild than if you look at it walking off the field in Chicago, right, in the wild card round was. Zach Tom, set it and forget it, right tackle. He's one of the best in the league. I think they found something in Anthony Belton being able to play at the right guard spot, unless they want to let him challenge for the left tackle position, which I'm not going to completely put off the radar. I think they part with Sean Ryan. I don't think that's a hot take. He was, 4 snaps away from a performance bonus, and there's a reason why they made it known that they didn't give him those 4 snaps. Had a performance-enhancing substance abuse issue earlier in his career. Like, I think that one's as good as gone. Hopefully he gets a good contract, and I think he can play. The biggest one is Aaron Banks. They're going to save $12 million whenever they convert some of that money and desperately need him to play to somewhat of a caliber that the contract would require. Mike, I'm going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. I know this is a weird take. My man did get hurt on legit the first day of pads. Hard to start a season worse than Aaron Banks did when he's in a back brace after day one in pads. At some point during camp, I think he pulled both groins. Didn't know you could do that. He had the worst of the injury luck. I think you got to take a swing that he has a better run here in 2026. And you have a left tackle who is desperately wanting and needing in what is all reality a career year if it's Jordan Morgan. I like their prospects up front maybe a little more than others. But that's also because I'm crowbarring in that they're either finding a way for Tyler Biadasz to be the center here in 2026.
Oh.
Somehow somebody's making a run at Tyler Linderbaum, and if he was going to sign with the Ravens, I think he was going to already. And there's a number of different centers in the draft that I think could be a Corey Linsley type, where they walk in and Pat Coogan starts for you week one, and you're not all that worried, center from Indiana.
Do you think that there was something, there is something that'll come out down the road about Drew Dahlman and that retirement? He just got big paid last summer, and now he's out, and that puts the Bears in significant trouble because they lost an offensive lineman in the playoffs that won't be back until sometime well into the 2026 season, and then they lose their starting center at an age that you don't expect to lose them.
Well, and I'd say it this way. I'm so proud of Drew Dahlman for doing what is an unpopular decision. Putting his life in his own hands. Proud of you, Drew. Congratulations. We need more people to be as courageous as you and walk away from $12 million for the Chicago Bears. We need more people like that in this world. Mike, I don't think it's all that surprising when you think about the family lineage, right? His dad played 7 years for the Niners back in the 90s. Nobody was retiring early in the early 2000s. He was good after 7 years, played, got a great chance to win, won, and was done. And, you know, they were both Stanford grads. He's a Stanford grad. He's 27 years old. He's got $25 million in career earnings, and I think he's going to be very, very okay. I think you're going to see it more and more. And I think this is where the change in financials in pro sports, you'll see more of a shift. Now, Drew Dahlman didn't come in during the NIL era. He wasn't one of the offensive linemen who was, I mentioned Pat Coogan. He comes from Notre Dame to Indiana. Now, Mike, I know we would have this conversation, have a lot of fun with it. We don't know what Pat Coogan made playing center for Indiana. I would guess it's a significant number.
One of us wants transparency. The other one doesn't.
Yeah, we know that he made some money. We know that he's got some cash. Drew Dahlman wasn't making that at Stanford, but he knows how to use it. Once you're making $18 million in a season playing offensive line, and you've got 4 different ways to make your ankle feel better by Saturday so you can go through the walkthrough and get out on Sunday, I think you're going to see more guys making the long-term health decision with money in the bank, especially playing that spot, and it not be just head injuries, right? Immediately, Mike, it felt like everybody was looking for the C word. And that one wasn't popping up. He doesn't have a history of concussions. He doesn't have a head injury significant past. It's the fact that he has felt like he's made his money, had his contributions, had his fun, and now he's going to go live the rest of his life. And I'm super, super happy for him, and very, very happy for the Green Bay Packers, because that's a big L. I mean, like you ran through it of the guys that they're going to miss. Look no different than Detroit a year ago. I know they lose Ben Johnson. And as much as I love MCDC, he's clearly not a play caller. They're going to need somebody there that can do it. When they lost Ragnow, that was the biggest loss that they had of all of 2025. And they were doing anything and everything they could to try to make up for that loss all year long. And unless the Bears are able to figure it out here pretty quickly, I think that you could forecast them being in somewhat of a similar path.
Yeah, I wondered because yesterday when we were kind of talking about the looking ahead, because the Packers are the 5th from Potawatomi Sportsbook. The Packers have the 5th shortest odds to win the Super Bowl next year of everybody in the league. And the Bears are 15th. Now, betting lines aren't always predictive, but, I mean, they set them for reasons that sometimes are deeper than what's on the field. But I thought the Bears, If I were picking it today, let me rephrase. If I were picking it yesterday, and I did, I would pick the Bears to win the division. But Dolman and their offensive line situation might change that. Who would you pick to win the NFC North today?
Well, I picked the Packers, and I lost a significant amount of money on them winning the division a year ago after multiple different run-ins where I thought that it was as good as locked up, especially at 9-3-1 with a 2-score lead on the road against Denver. But, Mike, I think the odds and the number there to win the Super Bowl is more reflective of what Las Vegas and odds makers think of the quarterback. And again, I know that's not a super positive take off of them being unable to score in the final drive and him having 2 intentional grounding penalties in the third quarter. I'd hate to break news to people. I'd definitely take an intentional grounding penalty and then a strip sack fumble in the end zone or a pick, right? Like there's times where you make a mistake and it's a good mistake. And I think Jordan's coming off of, by far, his best season as a pro and builds into year 4 where you'll see more consistency with a pass catching group that should be improved because of, again, more consistency. I'm bullish again on where Green Bay sits because I think their defense is better than it proved in the final month. I think there were a lot of extenuating circumstances. Number one, the biggest part of it, he was the heart and soul of the team. And when you lose the heart and soul of your team twice, it can be really difficult. And Tucker Kraft was the offensive heartbeat. They lost him in Pittsburgh, Mike. They finally were starting to be able to come out of that. And then the loss of Parsons felt like it was too many gut punches. But again, I say this, and Love threw for 4 touchdowns and 300 yards and got eliminated in the playoffs. You go back to the 2 MVP quarterbacks that played that preceded him. Show me the 4 touchdown, no interception game where they get eliminated in the playoffs. And you'll be looking because it hadn't happened. That's a different game than I think the Packers were building towards. We've had this conversation. I fully believe it to be true. They've been built so much over the last 3 decades on the quarterback always being Superman. Well, they were built this year with the idea that we're not going to ever ask him to be. And then by the end of the year, with the significant amount of injuries they had, they needed him to be. He was close, but not Superman and superhuman enough to be able to get them out of what was just too many slides down the end of the game by too many different players.
Hey, let me ask you on the personal front, this 5 to 8 a.m. show. You and I have been around each other a lot of time over the last few years. I wouldn't have pictured you to be a fan of a 4 a.m. alarm clock. How's that working out?
Well, I appreciate it, Mike. You're much more honest than me as I try to tell everyone. It's like 3:15, like waiting on right at 3:16, the bullish and get all this time. But 3:45 is when the first one gets on. By the time the actual 3 S's begin, is right about 4 bells. Mike, and again, I don't mean to be super sentimental about it and wax too poetically about it, but Cam Ward said something that I absolutely loved a year ago. He's like, I watched my dad get up at 4 a.m. and go do a job he hated. And he did it for 40 years. Now, my dad, I don't know that he absolutely hated his job. I know for a fact he didn't love it. But he woke up at 4, before 4 every single day for the majority of my life. Anything that I can remember, he was up at 4 and he was in and changed and on the workroom floor at the factory by 6 a.m. And if he can do that for a job that the last thing you would have thought you'd be signing up for, I think I can do it for the only one that I ever wanted. Now, I will say, Mike, I heard it in the midst of the tech issues we have. There's an 8:30 tip here tonight for a Bucks-Hawks game. Hand raised in air. Your boy will be watching the recap in the morning. There will be a full watch in the morning. And the thought of the nap would be really, really sweet if I had a 3-year-old that decided that nap time was actually a thing. Because while we were doing this, he was supposed to be going and doing quiet activities. What did I see him doing on the camera, Mike? Beating 3 drums with like actual sticks, not drumsticks, sticks he found outside. So, is it great? No. Is it perfect? Kinda, because I get to be home with the boys quite a bit. So it's been fun. And, you and I have said this a lot of times, and we've been lucky enough to do this, you for a really, really long time, and have had an illustrious career. And I'm excited about this next piece of it, because this is really sweet. Like, I love the I Love Mondays. I love that you've been able to tag it outside of me just roasting you on a Thursday. Like, no way you love Mondays more than this one, buddy. It's 75 degrees outside. We got a cold drink over here. But to be able to do it at any point in time is an absolute dream. So whether it's at 5 a.m., 5 o'clock at night, in my basement, or on the moon, I'm fine whenever they allow us to turn it on. But it's been an adjustment, that's for sure. It's a little bit different than when I was on until midnight. This one doesn't feel as much of a tour of duty as I had potentially when I was on a different morning show.
Sure, I get that. Hey, I wanted to say, but you'd know I'd be lying. I don't hear the first 2 hours of your show.
Yeah, not many people do.
Okay.
Yeah. But luckily, Mike, like the power of the YouTube and the power of online streaming and being able to start and restart it whenever.
Right.
I get a lot more people that are actually consuming the entire show. They're like, yeah, I pick it up at 12 during my lunch, and that's when I start. But I hear you guys. So it's the interesting part is, Mike, and we can talk about this. Our business has changed so much that it's not necessarily as much a morning show or a post-game show or a midday show. It's a show, and people consume it as a show, and wherever and whenever they're able to hit their entertainment. Because long gone are the days, we've talked about it a lot in entertainment, of appointment television. To think that we're able to be appointment listening is difficult. Just know that we'll consistently be there whenever you want it. We're like that bag of chips in the cabinet that you always have. You got that bag of Lay's there, Mike Heller. I know you're trying to quit carbs. I know you're trying to keep the bread out of the life, but you got that bag of chips back there. We're the comfort food. We'll be there whenever you need it.
How did you know I was trying to keep bread out of my life? Did I say that somewhere?
No, you just look way too damn handsome to not be doing something. You've had some time. I know you've been working this thing. I saw that smile with the Heart Night check, and you're looking slim and trim. So I knew you had something going on.
I appreciate you. One other note: if I flipped that poll question today around, and instead of saying which team has disappointed in the 10-year run, which team has had the best 10-year run? And I get it. The Bucs won a title in there. Which of those three, Packers, Brewers, Bucs, have had the better decade? Packers and Brewers, 7 of 10 playoffs. Bucs, 9 of 10. Bucs, the only finals championship opportunity and the only title. Which of those three has had the best decade?
Well, I would say the Bucs, and it's not just because of the title, right? I think that's a little bit too easy for it. It's just simply, to me, Mike, because it was the most unforeseen. Like as a 12-year-old snot-nosed sports fan that couldn't get enough of every single team that had a WI next to its location, it was the one that I, for the majority of my life, thought was completely unattainable, because I'm coming up watching the association when Kobe Bryant is demanding to be traded from the Los Angeles Lakers. Said, put me in a Bulls jersey. People don't say they don't want to leave Los Angeles and then say, you know where I really would like to vacation? The 414 in January, right? Living February's in Milwaukee, the last thing you thought you were attracting top-end talent. To have the best player in the sport for the majority of that 10 years, Mike, they could have. It's a lot easier to say because they won one, right? Like if they hadn't won one, it's a lot hotter of a take to still say the Bucs, because them being at the forefront of NBA conversation. When I was watching my man Samuel Dalembert, delete a movie-sized bag of popcorn and playing Words with Friends with Drew Gooden in the Bucs locker room, the last thing I thought was there was ever going to be a championship parade down Wisconsin Avenue, and it'd have a Bucs logo. So that one to me it was just so unforeseen, and in a sport that I thought completely kind of eradicates the small markets. For the Bucs to be the talk of the NBA is still pretty sweet. And even now, Mike, we got the guy that everybody wants, right? Yeah. Like, so even though it's tough and Bucs fans maybe have to, strap up the Kevlar cup to be able to take the kicks that they're going to have with folks always wanting your best player, Just remember, they want the best player that's been here. That's a pretty sweet thing to think of.
Yeah, all good stuff. Hey, you know this. You're one of my all-time favorites. I appreciate you hanging with us today as we work through some stuff and reserve the right to do it again in the near term. Keep doing what you're doing. Love you, buddy, and thanks for jumping in with us.
I know what this means when I say it. Call me anytime. And I apologize for bringing the technical demons. I apologize.
It was on you. I was going to blame Armin.
It looked like somebody was unplugging the router upstairs, so that's probably what happened.
Could have been the deal. Hey, buddy, thank you. Appreciate it. Billy Schmid, you hear him weekday mornings, 9:20 in Milwaukee, 10:70 in Madison. Show that begins at 5 a.m., 5 until 8 o'clock in the morning. All right, so a couple of things to touch on that I didn't get to. One is last night I had the honor, the pleasure to be able to host the interview portion of Badger basketball senior night. Now, they play tonight, but last night for some boosters, they had an event in the Nicholas Johnson Pavilion in their practice facility with a dinner, and Matt LePay hosted the evening, and he's, simply the best. I sat on the comfy chair, and then they brought over the seniors. So Andrew Rohde and Braden Carrington and Nick Boyd and Isaac Gard. So I got a chance to do 6, 7, 8 minute interviews with Coach Gard up there and each of those 4 seniors. But how cool, it was very cool to be able to talk to Isaac and his dad on, a senior honoring night, it was emotional in that regard. And it was fantastic. So it's one of my 3 tops and a bottom. That's one of my 3 tops, was hosting that last night. Another one is, as I look at the seed lines, think of this now. The Badgers have 2 games remaining. Tonight at home against a really bad Maryland team. Doesn't matter. Sometimes doesn't matter. But Maryland's pretty bad. It won't be a quality win. But go get you a win tonight. And if the Badgers could, and you can't tell me they can't, win at Purdue, because they have won at Purdue. They've also won at Michigan, and they've also won at Illinois. If they were able to sneak that one out, the seed line conversation changes. This is where they are right now in the bracket matrix, which is a compilation of all the bracketology out there. The Badgers are the first of the number 7 seeds, right? Means they're a spot away from being a low 6. I don't care which 6 line you're on, but that's better. So right now they're a 7 in the bracket matrix. They are a 7 on Fox. They are a 6 on CBS, the bracketology that came out today. You win. I said win both of these, but if you win tonight and you play well at Purdue, but you don't win, but then you have a run in Chicago at the Big Ten tournament, get to Saturday, maybe get to Sunday, 6 line is not out of play. 5 line's out of play, I think. 6 line is in play, but you probably have to play 5 games before Selection Sunday. The 2 that remain, and you probably got to win twice at the Big Ten tournament, Thursday and Friday, play into Saturday. You do that, I think you're a 6. So that's one of my other tops. So I think the Badgers as a 6 are a real threat. As a 7, I think they're a real threat. As an 8, it's so much harder because you're going to take on a 1 in round 2. And Badgers have won that game in the past. It's just asking a lot. I don't think there's a team. Somebody might bring up Arizona. I don't know that the way Wisconsin has played in the last month and a half, if at their best, if they couldn't beat anybody. I'm not saying that they would beat anybody, but at their best, like they were against Michigan, like they were late against Illinois, like they were the entire game against Michigan State at home. That Badger team plays, they could beat whoever's in the field. So I like that. And number 3 of my tops is I love the World Baseball Classic concept. I'm a big fan of the way they do it, of when they do it at the beginning of spring. A lot of these, especially many of these players playing Winter League, they're ready to go. And others, it got them ramped up sooner. Bryce Terang's ready to go. Pitching is like if if the Miz is pitching for Team USA, A, I would love it. B, I'd be scared to death of it because these guys are trying to ramp up sooner and the competitive instinct takes over. I know that there are already some pitchers that are supposed to pitch that might not. So I do love the World Baseball Classic. And, to me, if we're talking about three tops and a bottom, I don't really have a bottom today. There wasn't anything that happened last night or today that would be a bottom. I mean, maybe our gremlins that are kicking through some of the show, but we'll get there. I mean,
yeah, I got bottoms for you.
You got bottoms?
Yeah.
All right. Ben's got bottoms. So that's
there.
three tops and a bottom as we head out. Again, a big thank you to Billy Schmid who jumped in here. He is truly one of my favorites. If you were a listener of some of the stuff I've done on the radio, Billy is incredibly smart, got total recall. He's passionate. He's not the best guy sometimes to argue with because he, like I think I'm right if I'm going to get in an argument. Like, why the hell would I get in an argument on a point that I don't think is right? And sometimes that can come off as arrogant. I don't know that Billy comes off as arrogant. I think I do sometimes, but it's just because I'm convicted of my opinion. Ben's shaking his head. No, whatever. And some of that's real.
Unrelated.
Unrelated. No, the head shake was unrelated to my arrogance or lack thereof. Again, I want to thank our presenting sponsors, M3 Insurance and the Neuroscience Group, our partner sponsors of Potawatomi and Habish and Rotier. We're going to do this thing again tomorrow. We'll try and get better. We're not going to try and get worse. Vinny Rottino is scheduled to join us tomorrow. We'll work through the gremlins on that as he is in Phoenix with the Brewers at spring training. So we'll get through that. Badgers at home tonight against Maryland. Bucks at home tonight against Atlanta. That one tips at 8:30. Badgers at 7. So you can kind of double dip those two tonight. And we'll have plenty to talk about again tomorrow. Thanks for being with us today. And we'll see you tomorrow. We'll go live at 2:00. But wherever you get your podcasts, it will download. Please subscribe. And we'll keep being better on our end. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. I Love Mondays, the podcast.